The wind cuts like a blade, the storm engulfs the deserted road, and the headlights barely penetrate the white darkness of the snow. On the roadside, a motionless figure, a German shepherd mother dog, soaked, almost breathless, huddled over 3 tiny puppies. Miguel's car engine falls silent, and for a second the world is completely silent, only the faint breath of that dog fighting against its fate. His heart races, his heart screams that it's not just an animal, it's a soul crying out for help in the middle of nowhere. He runs, kneels in the icy snow, feels her body stiff, yet still warm, like a small miracle trapped between light and darkness. At that moment, without knowing it, the rescue he performs on that lonely road forever changes the destiny of his family and the true hero of this story. Miguel's house had always been too quiet since he lost his parents in an accident, and the silence seemed to grow with each sunrise. As a retired police officer, he carried invisible scars on his soul, but he still believed in the light hidden in every act of kindness. On that cold morning, while making coffee, the memory of the frozen dog returned like a cut in his heart, bringing discreet tears that he wiped away too quickly. It was impossible to forget her gaze, the gaze of a mother asking to protect her puppies, even without the strength to stand. That encounter rekindled something he thought he had lost: hope. Before continuing the story, Miguel recorded a short video for his Instagram stories, inviting people to learn about the rescue. If you believe in faith, in miracles, and in the power of a dog's loyalty, he said, like this video and turn on notifications. His voice trembled slightly because he knew something bigger was behind that encounter. His hands still remembered the cold that permeated his gloves and skin, as if the storm had hit him directly in the chest. But inside the car, when the puppies breathed deeply as they felt the warmth, he realized that life sometimes lights up places where only darkness exists. The veterinary hospital was just a few minutes away, but every second behind the wheel was a struggle between fear and hope. The mother dog, whom he decided to name Officer, she let out short, almost imperceptible breaths, but her eyes followed Miguel with a force that seemed to say, "Don't stop." The 3 puppies trembled silently inside the blanket, their tiny bodies searching for any inch of warmth that still existed. Miguel spoke to them as if they were children. "Hold on, family. You're not alone." And something inside him knew that this promise carried more destiny than he imagined. When Luna finally received treatment, the veterinarian explained that she had survived solely by instinct, protecting her puppies with her own body, even though she was unable to. Miguel's heart ached upon hearing this, because he saw a loyalty in her that few humans knew. He carefully held her muzzle, feeling her weak breath touch his fingers, and realized that this dog wasn't just a rescue. It was a calling. The atmosphere in the small clinic was one of tension and soft light, as if the world outside had stopped to witness this possible miracle. And it was there that Miguel vowed to keep them safe, no matter what. The next day dawned with an eerie stillness, as if Miguel's house were breathing for the first time in years. Luna, still weak, lifted her head at the sound of his footsteps, and that simple movement warmed something deep in his heart. The puppies slept silently, cradled in a rare peace. Miguel felt that this family was changing the air of the place, bringing light where before there had only been darkness. But when Luna stared at the door, tense, he realized that something was different. An instinct within her had awakened. Miguel watched Luna walk slowly around the room, her gaze fixed on points he couldn't understand. It was as if the dog was sniffing out memories in the air, searching for something lost. The retired police officer knew that pattern well. The alert posture, the absolute silence before action. His heart raced with a premonition difficult to explain. Luna wasn't reacting to her surroundings. She was searching for something specific, and the more she sniffed, the more urgent her behavior seemed. On the third day, Luna began to distance herself from the puppies for brief moments, always returning to touch them with her nose, as if apologizing. Miguel sensed the conflict in her soul, torn between protecting her family and following an invisible calling. When she placed her paw on the door as if asking to leave, the air seemed to change temperature. It was more than maternal instinct. It was something she needed to reveal. He took a deep breath. Something big was coming. Miguel carefully put on the collar, respecting every sign of discomfort from the mother dog. Luna wasn't aggressive, but her posture carried the urgency of a hero searching for answers. The cold wind hit his face as soon as they opened the door, bringing back memories of the storm that shaped that encounter. The grey light filtered through the morning shadows, and Luna walked straight down the path leading to the road. Each of her steps seemed to carry a silent message. Miguel simply followed. As they walked, Luna would suddenly stop, sniff the ground, and let out small tremors down her spine. Her behavior was precise, almost technical, like dogs trained in search and rescue. Miguel recognized the pattern and held his breath for a few seconds. There was a smell in the air that he also began to notice, metallic and strange, like something out of place in that landscape. The storm had masked more than just snow. Luna was about to reveal what no one imagined. At a specific point on the trail, Luna froze completely. Her body stiffened, her gaze tense, her breathing rapid. She pressed her snout to the ground and let out a short, deep, almost human moan. Miguel knelt, trying to understand what she had found there. The churned snow seemed to indicate recent movement. His fingers touched the damp soil, and something inside him snapped like a warning. Luna was asking him to open his eyes to a hidden truth. Miguel returned to the spot on the road where he had first found the dog, and Luna began to circle, sniffing, stopping, turning back, and repeating. It was a methodical, precise pattern, as if she were reconstructing an invisible story. The surrounding trees seemed to watch silently, and the cold no longer mattered. Suddenly, Luna barked, a short, urgent bark, laden with fear and hope at the same time. Miguel's heart froze in that instant. She had finally found something. Amidst the compacted snow, there were marks that didn't belong to the storm. Miguel recognized tire tracks, but there was something more. Human footprints, dragging, fragile. Luna brought her snout close to the marks and cried softly, a sound that cut through Miguel's heart like an emotional blade. This wasn't just about her. There was another soul involved, a presence lost that very night. A dark discovery was beginning to emerge. The dog began guiding Miguel as if she had done it her whole life. He moved with precision, circling trees, following tracks almost invisible to the human eye. Each of her barks carried more urgency, more destiny. The retired policeman felt his old instinct awaken, that human sense of danger he thought he had buried. The storm hadn't simply abandoned Luna there. Something or someone had left marks of struggle, and the answer was just a few meters away. A strong metallic smell began to fill the air, and Miguel noticed Luna was restless. The dog trembled, but moved forward with courage and determination. The wind carried a low, almost imperceptible sound, like one object touching another. Luna growled softly, not threateningly, but as a warning. Miguel's heart began to ache, as if he foresaw what they would find. He took a deep breath and silently asked for strength. The truth was about to be revealed between them. Deep in the woods, partially hidden by branches and snow, lay a small piece of blue fabric. Luna cried loudly upon seeing it, touching it with her snout, and then looked at Miguel with a despair that couldn't be feigned. The object smelled human, like a child's. Miguel felt the world spin. There were no reports of missing persons in the area, but everything there screamed for help. The mother dog knew something that no one had noticed during the storm. Miguel picked up the fabric with trembling hands, feeling the cold pierce his soul. Luna continued moving forward, guided by something greater than instinct. It was as if she carried the memory of a fear night in which she couldn't help anyone but her own puppies. A torn loyalty coursed through her body. The sound of Miguel's footsteps sinking into the snow seemed to mark the rhythm of an approaching destiny. With each meter, the tension grew heavier. Luna stopped in front of a fallen tree, leaned against the trunk, and sniffed intently at a narrow crevice among the roots. Miguel approached, illuminating the spot with his cell phone flashlight. What he saw took his breath away. Tiny footprints, like those of a very small child mixed with knee marks. It was impossible to ignore. Luna barked again, this time with a deep, resonant sound, more like hero than dog. She was begging him to continue. The air grew thicker, and the absolute silence weighed heavily on Miguel's throat. He felt his own soul stir with the urgency of the search. Luna lay down beside the roots, as if protecting something invisible. Miguel ran his hand through the soft earth, finding threads of fabric and a small, round, metallic object. It was a child's button with a star design. Tears welled up in his eyes. Every clue said the same thing. A child had been there and disappeared. When Luna suddenly stood up and started pulling on the leash, Miguel understood there was no time. She guided him back to the road, but this time along a narrower path where the trees were tall and formed a natural arch. The cold seemed to have a life of its own, pushing them forward. Miguel saw the reflection of his own fear in Luna's eyes, but he also saw hope. The dog knew where to go. She knew what to reveal. The truth was near, very near. At the end of the tree-lined corridor, Luna stopped and stared at Miguel with a gaze so deep it seemed to pierce his soul. The mother dog trembled but did not back down. The wind blew strongly, lifting snow and revealing something partially covered further ahead. A large metallic object with recent scratches. Miguel approached slowly, feeling destiny pounding in his chest. Luna whimpered, as if announcing that there, finally, began the truth that would change everything. The metallic object revealed by the snow was an overturned children's stroller, its side dented and bearing clear signs of impact. The faded blue color struck Miguel's heart, matching the fabric found in the woods. Luna approached slowly, sniffing every inch, letting out small sobs that pierced his soul. It was impossible to deny the connection between the clues. But a fierce doubt grew. How did it end up there without anyone knowing? The storm seemed to have erased not only footprints but truths. Miguel took photos, sending them to a friend from his old job, but hesitated before mentioning the true guide of the investigation, Luna. He feared they would laugh at him, believing the dog was exaggerating. His mind struggled between logic and instinct. Why hadn't anyone reported a missing child? Why was the stroller so far from the road? The silence of the forest brought more questions than answers. Luna, however, wasn't trembling with doubt. She was trembling with certainty. Suddenly, Luna strayed from the stroller and ran to the other side of the path, guided by a scent Miguel couldn't identify. He followed her, the cold scratching his face as the dog buried her snout in soaked leaves. She found a tiny, almost frozen glove. His heart sank. He wanted to deny it, but the truth was becoming clear. Still, reason tried to fight against faith in the instinct of that four-legged hero. What if it was just a coincidence? When Miguel took the evidence to the local police, the officers seemed skeptical. They said there was no record of a missing child that week. One of them suggested that Luna might just be reacting to old smells left by the storm. Miguel felt his blood pound. He knew all too well when they underestimated a dog. He took a deep breath, trying to control his irritation. However, inside, doubt whispered, "What if they're right?" But Luna's fixed gaze said otherwise. Luna stood firmly beside him, observing every movement of the police officers, as if hoping that someone would finally understand what she was trying to say. The cold atmosphere of the police station seemed to tighten his chest, igniting an internal conflict between trusting the force or completely believing the dog he had just saved from the storm. His soul was divided. The white light on the ceiling flickered, revealing Miguel's tired face. Something inside him told him that the truth wasn't there. It was in the forest, waiting to be found. The police said they would send a team the next day, but Miguel knew about delays, protocols, and priorities. He knew that certain searches fizzled out before they even began. Luna's hope, however, did not. The dog stared directly at the door, begging to return. Miguel held the leash, feeling his hand tremble. Was it madness to defy official procedure? Perhaps. But it was even madder to ignore the loyalty of a mother dog who had survived death to protect her puppies, and perhaps another child. Upon arriving home, the puppies ran to Luna, who licked them carefully, but her gaze was still distant, fixed on the trail, fixed on the overturned stroller. Miguel felt she was carrying a weight he didn't even understand. The dog lay down, but not to rest. It was a restless rest, like someone who knows another life depends on her. Miguel tried to sleep, but the image of the little blue glove haunted him in the darkness. The silence of the night seemed to scream. The early morning brought an unexpected sound. Luna cried softly, a cry heavy with sadness and urgency. Miguel jumped up. The dog paced restlessly by the door, breathing rapidly, as if she sensed time running out. He knelt down, touched her snout, felt her warm, trembling breath. Her soul cried out for action, and then the doubt vanished, replaced by absolute faith in that instinct that had saved his own puppies. He whispered, "Let's go back." Before leaving, Miguel placed the puppies in a heated playpen, knowing he couldn't take them out into the deep cold again. Luna looked at them with such pure love that Miguel felt tears welling up. It was as if she were asking forgiveness for leaving them again. He stroked her head. "We'll find someone who needs you," he said firmly. The cold outside seemed less frightening than the possibility of ignoring that call. The trail was even quieter than in previous days, and each step seemed to echo a warning. Miguel's heart pounded, as it had in ancient rescue cases, fast, steady, determined. The moon illuminated the snow with a soft light, while Luna sniffed the air, guided by an ancient certainty. Suddenly she stopped and looked at him in a way that pierced his soul. It was as if to say, "Now it begins." Miguel's fear mingled with a strange peace. Luna moved through the woods with more precision than before, as if the night amplified her senses. Miguel followed with flashlights and caution, remembering every safety rule he had learned during his years as a police officer. The silence, however, was unsettling. Each branch that broke sounded like a signal. Something enormous surrounded this story, something the storm tried to hide. He felt fate tightening its grip on his chest, while Luna growled softly, not in threat, but in intense warning. Halfway there, Miguel heard a loud crack, as if someone had stepped on dry wood. He froze. Luna pricked up her ears, her whole body tense. The cold seemed to swallow the air. He pointed his flashlight and saw a shadow move quickly among the trees. Miguel's heart raced, and an ancient instinct awakened. There was another presence there. Luna took 2 steps forward, but stopped, waiting for his command. The forest watched. The shadow disappeared, but the emotional trail remained. Luna sniffed the air, confirming that it wasn't her imagination. Miguel swallowed hard. Could someone have been watching since day one? The storm could have covered more than just footprints. It could have masked human intentions. His soul felt a deep unease. The tension rose like smoke in the icy air. He didn't want to believe it, but the turning point was beginning to take shape. They advanced a few more meters until Luna stopped again, but this time with her whole body bent forward, as if she were about to jump. The bark came out short, dry, full of warning. Miguel crouched beside her, illuminating a specific spot on the ground. The snow was churned up, and there were marks of something that had been dragged. His breath hitched. The light from the flashlight revealed small scratches on the ground, as if children's fingernails had tried to hold on. Miguel's heart burned with anguish. The doubt had completely vanished. Now it was certain. A child had fought there, and she wasn't alone. Luna began to moan, pacing in tight circles, trying to find the thread that connected all the clues. Miguel felt hot tears threaten his eyes. His soul begged for haste. The fate of that child could be decided at that very moment. Guilt overwhelmed him. What if they had returned sooner? When Luna finally found a new trail, she ran with all her might, tugging at the leash as if afraid of losing the trail again. Miguel could barely keep up with her, the cold cutting through his skin, his heart pounding in his chest. The dog stopped before a rocky outcrop where a slight passage between the stones formed a small natural cave. Luna barked inside, a deep bark full of emotion and warning. Miguel shone his flashlight. Something was shining inside. He entered slowly, feeling the cold cave air rise up his body. Luna stood beside him, growling softly. In the back, there was a small, hastily folded baby blanket, the same color as the stroller, the same scent found on the little glove. Miguel felt his breath catch. The doubts dissolved like melting snow. Luna wasn't just right. She was begging the world to listen, and it listened too late. Miguel held the blanket, inhaling a soft child's scent mixed with the odor of fear. Luna pressed her nose against the fabric, crying so painfully that she seemed to feel guilty for not protecting whoever was there. Miguel stroked her head. You did everything you could. But deep down, he knew the child might still be alive. Hope was reborn, mixed with the impossibility of turning back. When they emerged from the cave, Luna raised her head and sniffed the air again. She ran a few meters and stopped before a narrow, almost imperceptible trail that descended into a denser area of the forest. Miguel felt his whole body freeze. It was the kind of path someone would use to avoid being seen. Fear gripped his chest. But Luna looked back with a strength that transcends words. He nodded. Faith in the dog now guided his every step. As they moved forward, the scent in the air changed. It was stronger, more human, mixed with something metallic. Luna barked, but the sound echoed like an urgent plea. Miguel realized they were approaching a clearing. His heart was pounding so hard it seemed to fill the silence of the woods. He gripped the flashlight tightly, trying to protect the dog, who, in turn, was protecting him. Someone was very close. And then, in the center of the clearing, Luna stopped, paralyzed. Miguel turned on his flashlight and saw deep, recent marks in the ground, indicating that someone had been there in the last few hours. The weight of the discovery fell on him like breaking ice. The police didn't believe him. He doubted himself. But Luna never doubted him. Now the truth was about to emerge, and it might not be something Miguel was prepared to face. The flashlight's light revealed something that made Miguel's heart skip a beat. Small, recent footprints, clearly marked on the thin layer of snow. Luna approached slowly, sniffing each step, crying softly, as if she had recognized that trail for days. The silence of the clearing was heavy, almost suffocating, as if awaiting the moment the truth would emerge. Michael knelt, touching the marks with trembling fingers. They were from a child, without a doubt. Hope rekindled, and fear too. Luna began barking toward the edge of the clearing, where the vegetation was denser. The barking wasn't threatening. It was a desperate warning. Miguel walked over there, lighting the way. and saw a makeshift tent made of worn tarpaulin. A faint smell of smoke and metal hung in the air. His soul pulsed with alert. Someone had been there and might still be nearby. Luna growled softly, as if pleading for caution. Destiny was drawing near. Inside the tent there were leftover food, an old bottle and a pair of children's boots. Miguel felt tears welling up. He clutched the little boots to his chest, feeling the pain of imagining a child enduring the storm there, alone. Luna placed her paw on the boots, looking at him with a heart that seemed to break too. The makeshift room said it all. That child had lived there for days. The question was, where were you now? Luna abruptly moved away, guided by a scent Miguel couldn't identify. She ran a few meters, stopping near a tall rock, as if the most important answer lay there. The dog barked, looked at Miguel, and barked again, this time with absolute urgency. His heart tightened. He climbed onto the rock with effort. The flashlight illuminated the bottom of a narrow crevice, and then he saw a baby blanket and something moving. Miguel jumped down carefully, the cold penetrating bone and soul. Luna stayed on the edge, whimpering, waiting. Inside the small opening, hidden among branches and snow, was a pair of large, frightened eyes, gleaming in the light of the lantern. It was a child, weak, pale, breathing with difficulty. He swallowed his own breath, feeling his chest tighten. The child tried to recoil, but had no strength. Luna lay down beside the crevice, as if to say, "You are safe now." Miguel slowly extended his hand, speaking in a calm voice, repeating words of comfort he had learned throughout his life. "It's all right. I'll get you out of here." The child blinked, trying to understand if that man was real. The snow fell softly outside, contrasting with the warmth that Luna radiated there, even in silence. The scene seemed like a miracle, an act of pure existence, of hope reborn. Miguel cried when he realized they had arrived in time. With great care, he pulled the child out, wrapping her in his own jacket. The small body trembled, but there was still breath. Luna licked the child's face, who, even weak, raised her little hand and held her snout. Miguel's soul almost imploded. It was there that destiny revealed itself. Luna wasn't just protecting the puppies. She had been trying to save that life from the beginning. Her instinct had spoken louder than any human protocol. As Miguel ran with the child in his arms, Luna followed him, clinging to his legs like an eternal guardian. He felt the little heart beating rapidly against his chest. But something troubled him. Why was that child there? Who had left her in the forest? The storm was dangerous, but it didn't justify abandonment. Someone was involved. Someone fleeing the darkness of their own soul. Miguel realized he still needed to understand the other side of the story. A few meters from the trail, Luna stopped suddenly and began barking behind them. Miguel turned his flashlight and saw a figure running between the trees. His blood ran cold. The person was fleeing quickly, stumbling among the branches. Luna pulled hard on the leash, wanting to chase after it. Miguel's heart was conflicted. He needed to get the child to the hospital immediately, but he also needed to know who that shadow was. That was the key. Before he could decide, the child murmured something weak, almost inaudible. Miguel brought his ear closer. "My father." The word struck his chest like an arrow. The child's father was there, running away, hiding. Luna growled softly, as if confirming that this presence was dangerous, not protective. Miguel held the child tightly and quickened his pace. The faint light of the flashlight cut through the darkness, guided by the desperate hope of rescue. The shadow reappeared closer, and Miguel clearly saw the frightened face of a hooded, dirty man with a desperate expression. He seemed to want to approach, but retreated when Luna bravely advanced. The man shouted something unintelligible, a mixture of apology and panic. Miguel realized that he wasn't an ordinary criminal. He was someone broken, lost in his own fear. But that didn't erase the danger he represented. Luna positioned herself between Miguel and the man, her gaze fixed and heroic, as if to say, "I will protect you until the end." Her bark echoed through the forest, carrying not only strength but emotion. Miguel felt the tension explode in the air. It was the moment when destinies intertwine and truths emerge. The child clutched his jacket, seeking safety. The man began to cry, kneeling in the snow. The truth was about to collapse. The man raised his hands and murmured, "I didn't know what to do. She disappeared in the storm. I searched, but I was injured." Miguel studied every detail: the wet clothes, the bruised face, the trembling hands. Luna, however, sniffed the air and growled again. Miguel understood. That man might be telling the truth, but he was hiding something. There was fear, guilt, and perhaps it wasn't abandonment, but despair. Miguel decided to retreat slowly with the child, keeping Luna in front as a living shield. The man began to cry harder, murmuring, "I thought she was dead. I couldn't get back." The pain in his voice was real, but so was the danger. The storm would destroy trails, erase paths, wound souls. Miguel knew survival transforms people. But he still needed to protect the child before any judgment. Luna barked, indicating it was time to leave. The man didn't follow them. He simply fell to his knees as if he had lost everything. Miguel felt the weight of that pain, but the priority was clear. He ran, guided by the faint light of dawn and the child's increasingly shallow breathing. Luna ran like lightning beside him, her giant heart holding the world in her chest. Her soul burned with a mission to save that life, whatever the cost. When they reached the edge of the woods, Miguel spotted the road lights. He frantically signaled to a passing car. The driver stopped, startled by the scene. The policeman carrying a weak child and a dog hero, protecting them both. Without hesitation, he helped them inside. Luna settled on the car floor, her snout resting on the child's leg, providing warmth that no blanket could offer. The miracle was in the form of a dog. During the journey, the child opened her eyes for a few seconds and murmured, "She protected me." Miguel looked at Luna and felt his chest overflow with emotion. That mother dog hadn't just saved the puppies. She was trying to save another soul she'd found in that same storm. Her loyalty went beyond instinct. It was pure love. It was destiny. It was raw, silent heroism that transcends generations. Upon arriving at the hospital, doctors rushed to attend to the child. Miguel carefully handed her over, but Luna instinctively tried to follow. He held the leash, whispering, "You've done your part, my girl." But her gaze said there was still something to protect. Her soul was connected to that child in a way Miguel couldn't explain. He simply respected it. When the doctors closed the door to the room, Miguel knelt beside Luna and held her face in his hands. "You saved a life again." Tears finally escaped. Luna rested her forehead against his, conveying a peace that only exists in true bonds. The atmosphere in the hallway became light, as if the light itself recognized the miracle that had walked there. Then, minutes later, the doctor came out, and his expression changed everything. The child would survive, but needed to tell him something before going to sleep. She said she saw the dog in the storm, and that she tried to follow the light from its eyes. Miguel swallowed hard. Luna's instinct had guided the child to the cave, protecting her until the very last second. The doctor added, "If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have made it." Miguel looked at Luna and realized the magnitude of the truth. She was not a victim of the storm. She was its angel. The following days were marked by silence, hope, and long hours of waiting at the hospital. Miguel visited the child several times a day, always with Luna by his side. The dog walked with light steps, as if understanding that every sound needed to respect the fragility of that place. When the door to the room opened, the child smiled weakly upon seeing the mother dog. Miguel's heart filled with warmth. The room always seemed brighter when she entered. It was as if she carried the very light of the storm. The child, named Sophia, began to recover slowly. Her eyes were brightening, and her breathing was becoming more stable. Luna approached slowly, allowing the girl to touch her nose whenever she wanted. This small gesture brought peace to Miguel's soul. The bond between the two was so deep that it seemed to have existed even before that storm. The nurses began to notice that Sophia slept better when Luna was nearby. The dog's presence was a pure miracle. Miguel was trying to understand everything that had happened on those cold nights. The story was being rewritten in his head, each clue taking on new meaning. Luna hadn't just survived the storm. She had guided Sophia to the only place that could protect her from the deadly cold. It was love, instinct, destiny. He felt that the dog carried a mission that transcended human limits. And now, seeing the girl gain strength, he understood. Luna had saved 2 families at the same time. The police finally interviewed Miguel and opened a formal investigation. Sophia's father, found injured and in shock, recounted that the storm hit him while he was trying to carry the child to the car, but he slipped, injuring his leg. He lost Sophia in the blizzard and, exhausted, sought shelter further away, believing she hadn't survived. He was a soul broken by despair. Miguel listened to everything in silence, understanding that pain isn't always accompanied by malice. The storm destroys more than trails. It destroys directions. Luna seemed to understand this truth as well. When Sophia's father finally entered the hospital and saw her alive, he collapsed to the floor in tears. Luna didn't bark. She simply observed, peacefully, understanding the love in that reunion. Miguel realized that the dog didn't judge. She only protected. It was a silent lesson, so profound that it touched the moral of the story even before it was spoken. Her loyalty went beyond fear itself. It was heroism. The doctors explained that Sophia only survived because she stayed near a small natural opening that blocked part of the wind. And that, by all indications, Luna guided her there. The temperature in that crevice was mysteriously less lethal. Miguel swallowed hard when he heard this. The storm was brutal, but the dog found the only safe place as if guided by faith. For him, there was no other word besides miracle, a miracle built by paws and instinct. The medical team decided to allow supervised visits from Luna as they noticed that the dog accelerated the girl's recovery. Every time Luna entered, Sophia would raise her little hand, smiling innocently. Miguel watched the scene with a full heart. The light in the room seemed warmer, as if each encounter rekindled the warmth of life. He knew that bonds like that don't break. As the days passed, Miguel received messages from hundreds of people after sharing part of the rescue online. Stories, prayers, words of gratitude. People saying that that dog had given hope back to the world. His soul was moved by each message. Luna became a living symbol of love and loyalty. He never imagined that the encounter in the snow would transform so many hearts besides his own. Returning home was a moment of pure emotion. The puppies ran towards their mother dog, full of energy, barking as if to recount everything they had done during her absence. Sophia watched the scene from the car seat, giggling softly. Miguel smiled at the sight of that reunion of 2 small families. The peace of that moment made his chest relax for the first time in weeks. It was as if everyone had returned exactly to the place they belonged. Sophia asked to hold one of the puppies, and Miguel placed the smallest one in his lap. The girl hugged it so tenderly that Luna leaned closer to sniff, making sure everything was safe. It was a scene of absolute purity, capable of restoring any broken soul. Miguel took a deep breath, feeling that life was offering him a second chance, not just for Luna and Sophia, but for him as well. In the following days, Miguel accompanied the girl's reintegration with her father. He still carried guilt and pain, but he was determined to rebuild everything. Luna observed each encounter, sensing human emotions with impressive precision. In one of those moments, she lightly touched Sophia's father's leg with her paw, as if to say, "I see your pain, but I also see your love." The man cried, understanding the silent message of that four-legged hero. Miguel began to notice changes in himself as well. The solitude that had previously dominated his home was beginning to disappear. Sophia's laughter, the puppy's energy, Luna's constant presence, all of this was weaving a new kind of family, one that destiny had stitched together with invisible threads. His heart was gaining new layers of warmth and meaning. The police concluded the investigation, declaring the case a serious accident aggravated by the storm. Miguel was relieved. The truth weighed heavily, but it brought peace. There were no villains, only survivors trying to breathe amidst the darkness. Luna seemed to understand this resolution. Instead of growling at Sophia's father, she began to calmly accept his presence. It was forgiveness in dog form. One afternoon, Miguel took Luna for a walk near the rescue site. He stopped where it all began, the spot where she and the puppies shivered in the snow. His heart ached at the memory. He crouched down and touched the ground, feeling the cold pierce his palm. Luna sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. It was as if she were saying, "We won." Silent tears fell. His soul was freed. Luna's story began to spread through the local media, then nationally. Reporters tried to interview Miguel, but he refused most. "The heroes are her and Sophia," he would say firmly. But one thing changed. He realized that the story was inspiring dozens of rescues, adoptions, and family reunions. Luna, unknowingly, lit a light that spread far beyond the forest. Miguel began using his skills as a retired police officer to assist in volunteer search operations, and Luna accompanied him on all of them with firm steps and impeccable instinct. She seemed reborn with each mission, as if each rescue affirmed its purpose. People calmed down just seeing her. She was peace in dog form. Sophia visited Luna whenever she could. Their relationship was so strong that doctors began to say Luna could officially be considered an emotional support animal for the girl. Miguel agreed without hesitation. For him, that bond was pure gold, woven with love and destiny. When Sophia hugged Luna, a silence fell over the world that healed deep wounds. When spring arrived, the snow melted, revealing the transformed landscape. The place where Luna had been found now had flowers timidly emerging among the roots. Miguel stopped there with her, watching life reborn. He smiled, noticing that Luna looked at the horizon with the same gaze as the storm, steadfast, loyal, tireless. He whispered, "You saved us all." That late afternoon, as they walked home, Miguel realized that their journey wasn't just about storms or rescues. It was about transforming darkness into light, fear into hope, solitude into family. Luna walked with her head held high, the puppies playing behind her, Sophia laughing in the distance. The world seemed whole again. As he opened the gate, Miguel looked at Luna and said, "You found the truth, protected those who needed it, and taught us what love is." Luna wagged her tail and rested her head on his hand. It was the silent confirmation that the mission was complete, but destiny still had new paths in store. And that night, as the house lights glowed softly, Miguel was certain the storm had brought a hero, and she chose to stay. Sometimes miracles don't arrive with trumpets or explosive lights. They arrive covered in snow, fragile, trembling, but with a heart full of courage. Luna taught us that loyalty is more than instinct. It's love that weathers storms, finds lost souls, and rebuilds entire families. She showed us that a dog can illuminate the deepest darkness and transform silence into hope. And as Miguel watched her sleep surrounded by peace, he knew that some lives intersect not by chance, but by destiny. Because in the end, heroes don't talk so they protect. If this story touched you, leave a paw in the comments.